call the meeting to order. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amy, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Canfield?
Here.
Councilmember Chambers?
Here.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Here.
Councilmember Yankovic?
Here.
And Mayor DeVore?
I'm here. Motion to approve the consent agenda for tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
I'll support.
Discussion or changes?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to add one thing.
Sure.
In your bills, there was an emergency purchase. There was emergency action of about $9,000 to plumbers. We had some infiltration of water and sand, groundwater and sand in some of our, in 2 locations in the city, over in the Valley Vista area. So we had them take care of it so it wouldn't erode around it and cause an erosion issue. So we took care of that about 2 weeks ago. So I just wanted to let you know
Is
that.
that the boil water advisory?
No,
That was
no,
different?
that was not the boil water.
Okay. All
That
right.
was the one line right by Larkin's, right behind my, or next to my building.
There was one on Broadway, and there was Valley Vista as well, so yes.
Any questions for Mike on that emergency purchase? All right. Motion and a second then. Amy?
Councilmember Canfield?
Yes.
Mayor DeVore?
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic?
Yes.
And Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
All right. Citizen discussion items not on the agenda. No? All right. Old business number 4, item A, revision of the 1903 fireworks ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In front of you is a revision to ordinance for the firework ordinance under proposed ordinance 1903. At our last council meeting, if you recall, we discussed how the state statute changed with the fireworks, and we wanted to make sure that our ordinance aligned with the state statute. The one addition that we made was the night of Riverwalk, we would allow fireworks to 11:45. That's the only addition to the ordinance. So I was directed to come back with a new ordinance pertaining to that with those changes. Those changes were made, and the ordinance is in front of you reflects that, and would become official 10 days after posting in the Lowell Ledger. I'm recommending ordinance 19-03 be approved as presented.
It's been in the news the last couple of days that the state was changing the ordinance. Does this reflect that?
This reflects the state statute, yes. The state statute, that's what we talked about the last meeting because the state changed it. They reduced the number of days from 30 to 12, and part of the issue was that some of the days that the state allowed it, we didn't allow it, but even though the ordinance, the statute trumps the ordinance, we just made sure our ordinance aligned with it.
So it's uniform except for the addition of Riverwalk.
Correct.
Look for that motion, that 19-03 revision.
I'll recommend that we approve 1903.
Support.
Any other questions for Mike? Amy?
Mayor DeVore?
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic?
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
Councilmember Canfield?
Yes.
All right, item B, city income tax, Michael.
Since our last meeting, I have done some things for the income tax. About to get the calculator on the website. That's something that I've been working on. We've been having trouble with it. I'm about ready to get that up. Also, I'm working with Stable PR for a proposal to assist us with the informational piece of for the election. I anticipate having a proposal at the next council meeting, and that's all I have.
All right, any questions from Mike on that? All right, we'll move to item C, South Broadway.
At our last council meeting, I asked the council if they wanted to go, whether they only wanted to contribute $4,000 or $6,000 to address the asphalt issue over at King Milling. I was directed to go $6,000, split the cost with them. I did meet with them about a week and a half ago, let them know the city would be able to come across with half. They were fine to come across with the other half, and then I also advised them that the sign can't go in the right of way. And they had no issue with that, and then I coordinated with Pride and New Hall to get that matter resolved.
Sure, and just for the public on this, there was an area that previously King Milling had paved the right-of-way. And with the South Broadway reconstruction, that asphalt was removed. Didn't necessarily all need to come out, but King Milling wanted that asphalt put back. And the reason that the city doesn't recommend paving the right-of-way is when we need access for road projects or paving, then it might need to be removed. And when it's grass and can be just reseeded, it's a lot less cost that way. And King Milling had paid for it once, and with their sanitation requirements down there with all the food development and stuff, the city, we talked about it, felt it was fair to meet them in the middle on that. So that was the reason for the payment, where normally we wouldn't do that.
Are they gonna get their two or three, those entries into the sidewalks
Widen
on
for
the
the
west
steel?
side, widen back out to where they were at?
No.
I think they kind of backed off.
Yeah,
from
they
that.
didn't-
Once we discussed it, there was a reason that they wanted the trucks to come out straight,
Yeah.
so it was initially a concern, but they withdrew that.
Yeah.
But they can still operate like they
Yes,
do with
yes,
others.
yes.
Very good. Any other questions for Mike on that? Item D, Resolution 2219, the Youth Fair Agreement. Mike?
For over the past year, city administration has been working with Kent County Youth Fair regarding their agreement. In this agreement, the Parks and Recreation Commission had some concern to ensure that we were receiving an appropriate amount of rental fee, and also wanted to begin a plan for when the fair vacates sometime in the near future. I'm going to go through the agreement in a minute, the important parts of the agreement in a minute. I've also worked with the fair and agree that we will develop a rental agreement for them for the King Building once the fair vacates. They'd still like to use that for functions for the fair at the site once they leave, and as long as council's okay with it, we would come back later date with an agreement, a rental agreement for that. At the June 17th, 2019 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, I went over the proposed agreement with them, and they recommended for the council to approve the agreement. I'm recommending that the Lowell City Council accept the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting and approve Resolution 22-19 to formalize a rental agreement with the Kent County Youth Fair for the use of Recreation Park. So the major highlights of the agreement, the biggest one was cost. Previously, we had, I don't have the agreement in front of me. Basically, the big part of the agreement was cost. Previously, they were getting 10%, they were providing 10% of their revenue non-fair week to the city for it. There was concerns also from the city that there were costs for DPW staffing. DPW spends a lot of time the week before the fair, and those issues were addressed with them. And rather than try and get into a debate about how much they should be paying, we went with a flat fee of $3,000 a year that they would pay quarterly, rather than, because previously it was like $1,700 we were getting on average, and there were additional costs. So we were able to tentatively agree that that the $3,000 this way was reasonable, and that we weren't going to go trying to get them for every nickel and dime on cost. So we felt that this was the most suitable way to handle this. Also, one of the other big issues was the use of Birch Field. There had been concerns in the past that some barn animals were getting onto Birch Field, eating grass. So we agreed that they would use Birch Field for their dog races. They have some dog races, and they put some alpacas over there for an event. And other than those two items, they don't have a need to use Birch Field. So that was addressed. There was a utility line. There was lighting that was going down Broadway that they were paying for year-round, when really it was a street light. So as part of this, we took that over. It was like a $600 cost a year, and we didn't think it was really fair for them to have to pay that, because basically it lit the street and it lit Broadway. So we took that from them and started to take ownership of those lights. And those were really the big issues that we changed through the agreement, and that in the King Building. So,
I got a question, Mike.
sure.
Friday when I came home, somebody put a booth in the center of the street, and they put a sign up, "Wheat trucks use Ottawa." So did the fair give the,
That's the first I've heard of this.
okay, because the trucks, King Milling's trucks couldn't get down there.
This
I
is-
would have thought somebody at King would have,
I'm not aware, I can look into it, I don't know.
yeah.
It was that Bluegrass Festival,
Yeah.
so it would be the Bluegrass people, not necessarily the
Yeah, they
fair.
put a booth right in the middle of the street and a hand sign up at the, it said Ottawa only, or all wheat trucks use Ottawa.
I'm not aware of that. No one ever told me.
I thought their agreement too was only for north of
Correct.
Lowell's Road, right? That
Correct.
part of the fair.
Correct.
All right, we'll look for that motion then, 2219 for the new fair agreement till December 31st, 2021.
I'll recommend resolution 22-19 for the fair.
I'll support.
Any other questions for Mike? Amy?
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic?
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
Councilmember Canfield?
Yes.
Mayor DeWort?
Yes. Item 5, new business, A, the street closures for Riverwalk.
25th Annual Riverwalk Festival will be from Thursday, July 11th, 2019 to July 13th, 2019. As usual, we are receiving our annual road closure request from the Lowell Area Chamber of Commerce for the event. The requested closures are the following: Avery Street west of Monroe from 6 a.m. on Thursday, July 11th until 9 p.m. on July 13th. This is the food concession area. Avery Street east of Monroe to Jefferson and Washington Street north of Main Street to the Lowell Area Schools parking lot on Saturday, July 13th from 6 a.m. until 4 p.m. for the cruise-in. These closures are no different than last year's, and I'm recommending the requested closures for the Lowell Riverwalk Festival.
I make a motion that we approve the Riverwalk street closures.
I'll support.
Amy?
Councilmember Yankovic?
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
Councilmember Canfield?
Yes.
Mayor DeWort?
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
All right, item B, Fox easement acceptance. Steve?
Good evening. I have two items on the agenda tonight. Both are easement recommendations for acceptance. The first is a utility easement agreement with Wanda Lee Fox. The Light and Power Board last week at their special meeting approved the utility easement agreement and recommends it to City Council for final approval. Wanda Lee Fox is a homeowner at 901 Heffron Street in the dock addition for converting the overhead to underground in this entire neighborhood, and this is the sole location where we cannot locate a transformer between the sidewalk and the curb. So we approached Wanda, she talked with her realtor and gave the thumbs up, and this is the utility easement agreement we're recommending for us to install that transformer on her property.
All right, we'll look for that one then. Motion for resolution 2519 for the easement.
I'll make a motion that we accept 2619?
25.
2519.
I'll support.
All right, any other questions for Steve on the first easement? Amy?
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
Councilmember Canfield?
Yes.
Mayor DeWort?
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic?
Yes.
All right, item C is the dependable gas easement. Steve again.
Sure. The second easement involves actually multiple different changes to the infrastructure that's on Dependable's property. Currently, if you take Jackson Street south, you'll notice on the west side or the right side of the road, we have a river crossing that goes through a lot of trees, swampy area. It's been the root cause for many outages. This easement with Dependable will allow us to install underground infrastructure on the western portion of their property on Jackson Street, eliminate a significant portion of the overhead that runs through the middle of their property, and locate that down to the southern portion of their property just north of the railroad. This is needed for Project 110 and our 5-year plan that will allow us to move our distribution circuits from 4,160 volts to 12,470 volts north of the river, eliminate the river crossing, as well as improve the aesthetics and functionality of Dependable's property. And Chris from Dependable and his father have given the thumbs up. You'll notice it says TDC Incorporated because that's their formal name. So it's the Light and Power Board's recommendation to the council to accept this utility easement agreement.
All right, now look for a motion for resolution 2619.
I move that we accept resolution 2619.
And I'll support.
All right, any other questions for Steve on the second one? Amy?
Councilmember Canfield,
Yes.
Mayor DeBoer,
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl,
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic,
Yes.
and Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
All right, item number 6, board and commission reports. Cliff?
Didn't have a quorum for the historical folks. So if the public is interested in getting involved, we need 2 people from the city on that commission, which would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jim.
I have nothing.
Greg?
Nothing.
Marty?
Nothing, and I'll start next week.
I got nothing too, so that was easy. City managers report, Michael.
We finally have a selection for a new director of public works. We have, beginning on August 5th, Dan Zarnicki will become the new public works director for the city of Lowell. Dan is currently the public works director of the city of Fenton. Dan is a lifelong West Sider. He grew up in Comstock Park, actually still has a home in Grand Haven, and he's been working in Fenton for the last 8 years. Previously to that, he had worked in the city of Wyoming as a public works supervisor. He actually worked there twice. He also worked in Casper, Wyoming, and also served as the public works director in the city of Ionia, city of Grand Haven, and city of Negaunee before he came to the city of Fenton. So he's got about 33 years of experience. Dan has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Michigan Tech. We had 3 candidates that we interviewed, made it to the second round of interviews, and we had 2 interview processes, and it wasn't just Mike Burns' decision to pick him. I had, actually nobody in this room is, all the department heads were involved in the interview process. We had 2 representatives from Public Works, 1 in each interview. Dave Austin was involved. I had the city manager in Muskegon sit in, and also, Dave Austin. And so we had a lot of different people going through these, and every person, it was obvious to every person that Dan was the #1 candidate. The other 2 candidates were really good, but I think Dan is exactly what we were looking for and what we need, and he will be here on August 5th. So I'm really excited and pleased through the process that we got a really good candidate. I've worked with Dan for 5 years, and I know he's going to do an excellent job and be an excellent addition for the city. To update the council, it appears that the bathroom vandalism has come to an end. We haven't had any instances. A couple weeks ago, Officer Van Salkema noticed some kids in the area and made contact with them, and ever since then, it stopped. We couldn't prove that they were doing anything, but we've not had any more break-ins since then or any damage in the bathroom since then. Also, if I think I informed you, there's been a number of stolen vehicles out of the Valley Vista subdivision as of late. Today, we did make an arrest on suspect in that. There was evidence found at the scene that implicated the individual to some of the stolen vehicles. The individual hasn't been arraigned yet, but they are currently being housed in a correctional facility. But it was real good work by the police department. They got a tip over the weekend regarding it and followed through with it, and they were able to make an arrest. So hopefully that issue goes away. Also want to inform the council about Ware Road. I had a conference call with DHS, Ionia County, DEQ, or Eagle, and Joe Berlin and I about a week and a half ago. just to try and get everyone up to speed as to what's going on out there. The good news is that Ionia County Health Department, they did do some well testing at the site for some of the residents. They were looking for volatile organic compounds. The 5 houses they tested did not have any VOCs come up, so that was a positive. Doesn't mean that we're going to stop our testing and all that. We still need to follow through with our work plan. And I believe next week they're going to be back out doing some more work out there. So that's still moving forward. Also, we just received our most recent MERS actuarial. I'm not surprised by this, but our percentage went from 64% funded to 63% funded. One of the big issues is going to be that MERS is going to lower the rate of return in 2021 to the point where we are going to be under the 60%. So I anticipate we may have to file a corrective action plan at some point. That being said, I'm going to have an individual from MERS come and talk to you and just walk you through the actuarial. Probably better if they can explain it to you, because they talk in those terms probably better than I do. So I'm trying to have him come for a future council meeting, and that's all I have.
All right, very good. Any questions for Mike on any of that? All right, item 9, appointments. Cliff already mentioned the Historic District has 2 spots. Construction Board of Appeals has a spot. DDA has a spot. That's it. The rest are currently serving, so we'll just have to make sure that they want to all continue. So if you want to get involved, put an application in at City Hall. Plenty of fun boards to be on. Council comments, Greg?
Nothing.
Marty?
I'm good.
Jim?
I'm good.
Cliff?
Nothing.
All right, look for a motion then to go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I have one thing.
Go ahead.
No coffee with council, right?
Oh, for the weekend?
Because of for the holiday weekend, so,
All right, cancel.
yeah.
All right, I'll look for a motion then to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Any discussion on it? Amy?
Mayor DeBoer?
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic?
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
Councilmember Canfield?
Yes.
All right.